Welcome to this session where we are going to look at how we can enter formulas, how we can copy data and the formula from one place to the other, and then using auto sum, using simple aggregation functions like sum, count, average, min, max, things like this, applying simple conditions in a formula using if functions out there. So for entering the formulas out there, we can look at how exactly the operators, mathematical operators that we are going to use there. So we are going to use the plus sign for addition, hyphen for the subtraction there, asterisk for the multiplication, forward slash for the division out there, and then we are using we also call this as a cap operator, or we can call it as a caret operator there, which is to raise the numbers out there essentially. So uh, if I want to enter say a simple formula out there, I can say is equal to, I'm using a very simple formula called sum out there. Whenever you are typing, you can see that this drop down comes by, and you can select any of the formulas that you want. When I do that, it will automatically take the formula with the bracket there, and then I have to give the first number and the second number. So if I just select these two this thing uh, locations are there, and then I say enter out there. I think the formatting here is on the date side, so I need to change the formatting to number out there. So let me delete this, and then I'll just say sum, and then select this one plus this column out there on salary, for example, simple example I'm taking. So I close this braces out there. So you can see that 10,448 plus 44 is 498 there. So this is the way in which we are going to insert a formula. Then I can insert, this was only for doing a sum. Now I want this thing. I have an inbuilt this thing for product out there. So product of these two there, and then I'm closing the braces there, say enter. So you can see that it has multiplied there. So if you see these cells, the this thing is there, so I would put it there because numeric data should always be there on the right hand side, and the character data will always be displayed on the right hand side of the cell out there. And then to make this more clear, let me change the font color out there so that it is visible. So this is how we make a multiplication out there and do the whole process. And let me insert one more formula there. Let me say sum, and then I select the first number out there divided by the forward slash divided by this number out there, close the braces, and this is this information that I have out there. So I can change the font color, the alignment there, and then this is how the data would look like when we are looking at the information on division. Supposing I want to subtract, for example, I can still use sum of, say, this column here minus, say, this column here, and then close the braces out there, and then just change the format here, and then this is the information that I typically have out there, and this is how we would be working with minus, division, uh, addition, multiplication, and things like that. I can even use some. I can say select this multiplied by the star sign and this column there, and then make an entry there, and I can still be getting the same results. Some can help me on a different uh, operators out there. it can it can work with different operators internally and achieve whatever we want to do there, and then there are specific formulas even to do specific operations out there. So now let us look at the last formula there where we want to put the cap out there. I will just we don't even have to use sum in this case. I will just say this and then the cap operator out there, and let me say I have I want to raise it to square, for example. So let me say power of 2, and then when I enter, it enters into the entire column out there. So let me just format those cells there so you can see the values of the square out there. So this is a simple way of entering formulas out there. I just addressed one class of formulas related to the operators out there. There are different classes of operators, the different functions available for each of the operations. So you can look at mathematical operations, you can be looking at relational operations, you can be looking at logical operations out there. So there are different types of formulas that are available, but just for a simple introduction, I have just concentrated on the most basic part of how formulas can be written out there. Next is let me say that I want to copy data and the formulas, for example. For example, let me say I'm copying this part out there, and I want to copy the formulas here. So I just say copy there. I have just made a right click. I just selected on this cell, and then I'm copying that. And then let me say I put it in this sheet out here. So when I am looking at that copy out there, I can keep the this thing out there, but then you can see the difference that it is not actually giving me what I am looking at. So if I'm looking at the formulas or I'm looking at the different values out there, so I want the different informations to be as it is. So it is not giving me that this thing there. So I will just say paste special. This is the option that I'm looking at, and I say using all the source themes. That means the formula will get copied as it is in this case. So you can see there that you have the formula out there, and what has happened is the formula has changed from table 1 to table 1 to table 2 there. So that's the problem. So I will say table 1, change that, and then you can see that this thing changes. So table 1 at the rate of the column there is given, so we are looking at that. So this way, if I want to, for example, let us say, let us look at only the this thing out there. So let me delete this for you, and then let us look at how we could copy a formula from here to there. So let's take only one column out there at this juncture of time, just to see how exactly it is getting copied. So I'm just putting it there. So if you are selecting the numbers, it will select only the values there. I want the formula out there, and then you can see that we have entered the or copied the formula from there to here, and then the reference is given here that we are taking it from the other table out there. So this is how you could copy the formulas out there. Supposing I don't want the formulas, but I want only the numbers out there. I will just say copy, and then I will come to the next sheet there, and I will just say spaced special, and then the values is what I'm going to this thing. So you can see only the value has got copied and there's no formula out there. So this is how I would copy formulas and copy data out there. And next thing I want to look at is I want a formula which will do the auto sum out there. So you can see that. Let me just resize this for you out there. So, so I have the age column and the salary column out there, and I want to do an auto sum out there. So there's an option here called as auto sum. So I can do an average, I can count the numbers, I can look at the max and the min functions out there. So let me say I select only this column out there. So I go to the auto sum there. I say sum. You can see automatically this appeared out there in this case. Just give me. So you can see that the auto sum automatically appeared in this case there. So let me just select the same column out there, and then let me say I want the average out there. So you can see the average has come. I select the same thing there. I say I want to count the number of numbers out there in that case. So I'm just selecting this data. I just go to this auto sum option there. I say I want to count the numbers. You can see how automatically this is getting done. And then let me go back, select the data there, and then I say I want the max of this. So you can see that the maximum, let me move down there. So the maximum value is this one. So now let me go back and select the data for you, and then let me do that. I have selected the data out there, and then I want the minimum out there. I think something went wrong there. So let me return back to the original position there. So let me do a couple of steps back. Just let me scroll down for you, and then let us reach the step that we had actually completed. So let me just select this set of numbers there, and then let me scroll down for you. And then we already saw the count out there. There are 12 numbers out there. I want to look at the maximum of these numbers. So let me remove all this. Let me just go back one step. So let me remove these things. Let me just select this number. Let me go and look at the maximum in this column there. So since we selected this data also, it is coming there. So I want to look at only selecting this column out there, and then pressing on the, say, the minimum value out there, and then again reselection of this, and then I can look at the minimum value out there. So when we are looking at minimum, let me just delete these things that we have looked at, and then let me trace back the steps out there. Let me just remove this because there are multiple numbers out there. Maybe it is causing the problem. So let us look at the minimum value there. So we get the minimum value. So this is how you would look at all these functions of sum, count, average, min, max, things like that. Apart from that, we could look at essentially the, by the formula I can also calculate out there. So if I want to look at the average here of the age column, for example, I can just go here. Let me just select these columns and make the font white there so that you are able to visualize there. So sum of is a formula called as average. So average of the selection of the numbers out there, and then you will have the average. I want to count, so there's a formula called as count out there. Count, when you are looking at numeric numbers, you can use count. When you are looking at character columns, like I want to count the number of names out here, you can use count A out there. So I will select and count. I will select the numbers out there and then say enter. So you got 12 numbers out there, and then I want to find the max age. For example, I can say max is a function there, and then I select this set of values, and then I can do that. I want the minimum out there, min of I select this particular column out there, and then close it. I want to find the highest salary. You can go and say max of the salary out there, and then close the braces, and then I want to find the lowest salary out there, so I can say min, and then select this entire column out there, close the braces. I want to find the second highest salary out there, so I can say is equal to, there's a formula called as a large out there. So I can take that, take the array, and then say comma, I want to select the second highest, so I will say 2, close the braces, and that gives me the second highest. And the third lowest salary I want to look at, so I will type a formula called as a small, and then I will select this range of numbers in which I want to find that, and then I want the third lowest salary, so I'm looking at 3, and then I close the braces there and say okay. So now I have calculated all this using a formula out there. What we did here in the previous sheet was to use the inbuilt function there. I have more functions also there. So you can have exact, there are a lot of other functions. As we move, we would be looking at that. And then we wanted to look at these things in this thing, entering, copying, and then look using the auto sum function there on the home menu out there, and then using simple aggregate functions we saw there. And then the if statement is something that we need to look at there. So if I want to say find, I have a code out here. This is the raw data that was given to me, but then I have to write a formula in this column and then find it out. So I have written a very simple formula here. I have checked at this box there, C10. So C10 equal to M. If it is equal to M, then it should display male. Else, if C10 is equal to F, I am going to write it as a female. If C10 is equal to ND, not disclosed. So if it is not disclosed there, then it will display as a not disclosed, as in the case here. So there's a not disclosed case there. And then if it is equal to G, it is displayed as gay, and then satisfies none of the above conditions. So if you don't have any code that is given in that particular column, that is also taken care of. How exactly is it working? The first thing that you need to understand here is that let me just scroll down a little bit, and then I say, for example, say if I have a logical test to be given, or the condition what I want to check. So what I'm checking is, say, let me say I'm taking this cell there, and then I say this is equal to, say, G out there. So this is the condition I'm checking. First thing is the logical test. If the value is true, if this condition is true, what I have to do? So I need to display gay out there, and then condition is false. What am I supposed to display? So if the condition is not satisfied, then say not disclosed, for example. That is the false condition I'm giving in this case. And I written a very simple this thing. First part should be your condition. Second part should be your this thing answer to when it is true. The third part should be answer to the false part out there, and then you say enter out there, and then it displays. If the condition is true, then it displays the true part. If the condition is false, it will display the false part out there. So if you are having multiple conditions, say I have only two conditions, say there is a male and a female condition, then I will have only one if statement there. That means one less than the number of conditions is the number of thing. So if I have two conditions out there in if minimum conditions, it will be 2 minus 1, that is one if statement. So I can say if, for example, you are having only two conditions there. So I take this cell, for example, I say is equal to M. Then in the true part, I want it to display it as male out there. And if it is false, because there is only two conditions out there, I can directly say male and female, close the braces, and then in this case it is displaying as female because it is taking the false condition there. So even though there is nothing out there, it is displaying as female because in our formula we have given it in the false part. So if the true part is not actually satisfied, automatically it will take the false part. If I don't want to that to happen, Then I have to say one more if statement, and if it is there, I give that it is a blank out there. Then for the blank, just display blank, and then in the else part, if you put it as female, then it will display correctly in this case. So this is how a simple if statement can be generated there. And then if I want, I have a list of scores there for each of these people out there. So I want to display the marks out there, for example. So what I'm going to do is the condition is what I have given here. So greater than 90, from 80 to 90, so 70 to 79, 69, less than 60 is a fail. So what I'm going to do is I have written a formula already, which I'm going to just explain there for you. So I say G10. G10 is this cell there where 92 is there. So G10 is greater than 90, A grade. So if G10 is greater than 79, that is 79 to 89, whatever is the condition, it should be B. If G10 is greater than 69, then C. If G10 is 59, there's an inbuilt condition to check the higher end out there. Lower end is what we normally give. And then after the D grade, I am giving it as false. And when I have written the formula there, you can observe the numbers out there. Exactly, it has come the same. For 32, it has come as F. For 35, it is F. So these are two conditions that are less than that. This is another condition, 45 is less than F there. Any other F? So there are three Fs in this case. And then there were three Ds in this case. There are uh, 3Ds. C is only two cases there, and then there are about two cases of A out there. So this is how in this data set it has got populated, but the formula and the condition sheet that we are looking at there is the same. Then the formula would be same or similar in those cases out there. So with that, the discussion that we wanted to do on this particular session, we have completed there. I hope you have got a fair idea of how to do it. You should be using the practice sheets that have been shared with you to complete and understand the whole thing out there by doing it yourself. It may look to be very simple when I'm doing, but then when you do it, you may have doubts. So you need to go back and look at that. Thanks for your patient hearing, and meet you in the next